Good evening. Thank you for joining me on CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Um, this evening, I have a guest. Most of you know as Mike Beach. But before I introduce you to Mike Beach, I want to um, share this with you that my message here tonight is about difficult it may seem. When I think of ideas and pursuing of ideas, I think of the audacity of Barack Obama, our president, who had the audacity to try to be to aim to become a president, and has made an indelible mark in history. I think of Martin Luther King, and I did a march on Washington. I think of Mahatma Gandhi, and many others who have left breadcrumbs of success for us to follow. But tonight we have a packed program, so I don't want to spend too much time on my any preamble. We only have a hour and a half show. It sounds long, it seems long, but usually once the show gets started, time runs out. But before I take a break, I want to thank those of you who are joining us for the first time and to introduce you to this format. It's a three-dimensional format. There is the guest, the host, and then there is the chat room, which allows you to join in the conversation by making comments and asking questions. I ask that you keep the questions respectful. We are a family here. We're not here to try and trip anybody up. Feel free to ask your questions, but be as respectful as possible. And so, without much further ado, I'll take a break and introduce to you Michael Beach on the other side. Thank you. We are back. For those of you who are now joining us, my name is Selwyn Collins, your host for tonight. This is CWS Conversations with Selwyn. My guest tonight is Mike Beach. Mike,
Yes, sir.
how are you, my brother?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am fine, thank you. And thanks a lot for coming on the show in such short notice. I really appreciate that.
Well, I figure you owe me now, so I'll get you back somehow.
All right, Mike. All right. Okay. Let me start by saying, Juilliard trained, performed in more than 18 plays, wrote and directed a few, performed off Broadway in regional theaters and theaters in LA, opposite Wesley Snipes in Streets of Gold, Kevin Bacon, Cher, Dan Quaid, and also with one of my favorites, Morgan Freeman in Lean on Me, etc., etc., etc. Born in
Right.
Roxbury, Massachusetts, the old neighborhood, and attended the prestigious Noble and Greenhouse School in Denham, Massachusetts, and scholarship from ABC. Um, were introduced to acting when you were sidelined by a lacrosse injury during high school by a classmate. This says to me, brilliant and blessed to be in the right place at the right time. Um, and all these wonderful things about you, Mike. And, we can go down the list and scrape your CV, but to me, that would not do you or the show justice. Um, I think of you as a diamond, one of our diamonds. And what I hope for tonight, tonight is to give the audience a more three-dimensional view of you. Unfortunately, most people only get a one-dimensional view of Mike you're, as an actor.
Right.
Many don't know that you're a teacher, what you do for fun, you're a mentor, and all these wonderful things. So I hope by tonight, by the end of the conversation, the audience will have a better perspective of Michael Beach. So
All good. If I'll answer whatever I can.
thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Sure.
And well, one of the things I may have mentioned to you before is that we have a third dimension, the chat room, where people come in and they'll ask questions and make
Right.
comments. So we'll cater for that. One question I want to ask you though, Mike, and if I may go back a little way into your timeline, is whose idea or whose decision it was to go to Juilliard? Was it yours or a mentor or something?
Well, it was mine. I mean, I had been told about um, a plethora of theater schools because originally I thought that I was going to play football at some, a smaller college,
Uh
and that was my dream. But because I was hurt, I didn't have that opportunity. In my last year of high school is when I started acting, and um, a mentor of mine mentioned theater schools and gave me a list, and Juilliard was one of them, and said, it's extremely unlikely that it would happen that you would get into there, but you should go audition. So I auditioned for that and a few other schools, and got into every place I auditioned for, and had a choice. And Juilliard, I had no money, so they all were willing to give me some money,
huh.
and I just had to work to pay my rent and feed myself because Juilliard didn't have um, a place where you lived. You just had to live in the city.
Wow.
So yeah, I took out a loan to help me live because I was always at school, and I got jobs on the weekends when I could, and yeah, so it was my decision, but a teacher brought it to my attention because I had never heard of Juilliard. I didn't know anything about it.
So it is important. You would agree that to have a mentor.
Well, listen, I mean, all of us, drive, ambition, all of that has to be directed somehow, and there are things that you don't know as a child or even as an adult, and so to have somebody that does know the things that may help you share those things with you, that's important. Yes, I think so.
Mike, just give me a second. I'm looking at some of the statements in the chat room, and somebody was saying, "Sell dear, please, volume, please." So, audience, are you hearing me better now? Whose volume is it? Is it Mike's or mine? I'm just hoping somebody respond to that question. I want to make sure.
I moved a little closer, so maybe I can be heard now.
Oh, you're fine. So they said volume level is okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mike. So one of the we're talking about timeline, and back then you went into Juilliard, and you persevered. I see perseverance, determination, courage. You had to work and pay yourself through school and so on and so forth. And the importance of having a mentor. What was one of the greatest challenges you had during those days, and how did you overcome them?
You mean during high school?
No, in Juilliard, when you went to Juilliard to study.
Well, for me, one of the things that was very difficult was the Shakespeare, to be honest. The rigorous technical aspect of Juilliard. I was a guy that hadn't been acting for long, literally maybe 9, 10 months, maybe, and wasn't. I hadn't had any voice or speech or diction training or movement or studied classical plays, and I think Shakespeare scares a lot of people, and particularly an 18-year-old kid. And the idea that Juilliard is a classical training school, so unlike other places where you'll do Shakespeare or Ibsen or Gorky or Chekhov, once a year you'll work on something. Juilliard was the opposite. Is that's what you mainly worked on, and once in a while you would do a contemporary piece. So it was very frightening at first, that I wasn't equipped. You know, I was an inner city kid. Of course, I spent 4 years in a prep school, so where I was surrounded by, you know, all Caucasians, and now it was all at high school. It was all about academics and sports.
Right.
I excelled at sports, but then I was hurt and I wasn't able to play anymore. And I was an okay student, not a bad one. I was, you know, fair. Right. But whenever it came to verbally expressing what I felt and believed, I could do as well as anyone else. But when I had to write it down or take tests, it was something that wasn't a part of my upbringing. But I did kind of start to mesh the two together. Then at Juilliard, it was, you know, Shakespeare was frightening. I mean, it was very scary. And a lot of the people that I had gone to school with at Juilliard, they had been training and studying classical theater for years, and some of them had already gone to college and they were doing grad work at Juilliard. So that was the toughest thing. But luckily for me, I never, because I hadn't heard of Juilliard, I didn't know about Juilliard. I didn't think of it as some mythical, incredible place where, you know, everything they say was right and everything I did was wrong. And there were a lot of students there that felt that way, and it you know, did them a lot of damage. And for me, I didn't have that feeling or that opinion of them, so it helped shield me from what an amazing thing it was to go to that school.
Mike, somebody in the chat room said, I know you were trying to get this light done properly. Somebody's saying it's a little dull in the chat room. I can see it here myself. Do you have a light that can shine directly in you? I'll take a short break. Because we want to get this right, Mike. You know, we got to talk about your films and stuff.
I turned stuff down because you said it was too...
No, man. No, don't talk.
I'm blaming it on you, man.
Mike, don't put this on me, chap. We're live. All right, let's take a short break. And when I get back, you know, put on back the lights, Mike.
All right.
These ladies would kill me. better. Okay. Let me just read some of the comments in the chat room, Mike, before we continue this conversation. QTP says, good night, sell Michael's image. Okay, we got that. Kali says, hi, Mike. So exciting to have you back. Thank you. What advice did your parents give you that stays with you today? Hold that thought, Mike. Joan says, do you have children? If so, would you advise them to go into showbiz?
Do I want children?
No. Do you have children? If so, would you advise them to go into showbiz? Hold that thought again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you got to remind me because I can't hold.
No, I will. I'm just saying, hold that thought so you don't answer right away.
Okay.
And Shondell says, looking back, can you tell us how your challenges at Juilliard have contributed to your success today? And John, what's your perspective on influence of Hollywood in the political discourse? Okay, let's go to Kali. Hi, Mike. So exciting to have you back. Thank you. What advice did your parents give you that stays with you today?
My parents, well, I didn't grow up with a father, so I had no father. So that it would be nothing from my father. Mm-hmm. My mom, it wasn't so much the advice she gave me. It was the fact that, my mom was in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up. My mom really, really worked hard to support her kids. And she never complained and she never blamed anybody. Mm-hmm. And I love that about her. And that's exactly how I am. When I do something wrong, it's my fault. It's not someone else's fault. What I have or don't have is about what effort I put in or don't put in. It's not about what anybody else does to me or for me. I mean, I don't find that an attractive trait in people when they blame others for anything really. Mm-hmm. It's just not how I live.
And the next question, Joan asks, do you have children? If so, would you advise them to go into showbiz?
Well, I have 5 children.
Congrats.
My oldest is 25, and I have a 20-year-old who is actually on an audition right now.
Really?
And yes, and I worked with her on her on her audition piece earlier today. Mm-hmm. She's in my acting class. So I guess that the answer to that is yes, if they really want to. When she was 8 years old, she kept telling me, I want to be an actor. I want to be an actor. And I always made sure that I said, listen, if you want to act, you can act in school plays, you can act in summer programs, all of that stuff. But I don't feel comfortable with you going into the profession until you become an adult, because acting and the business of acting are 2 totally different things. Mm-hmm. And I've seen what it can do, not necessarily does do, but can more often than not, what it can do to young kids. I mean, look, I see what it does to adults. Mm-hmm. This business is all about how you deal with rejection.
Wow.
And it's a constant barrage of rejection. And, many people can't deal with that. And I don't think children really should deal with it. And it becomes personal at times, especially for a young, I was going to say especially for a young woman, but it doesn't, especially for anybody, especially if you're young.
Right.
You're too fat, you're too short, you're too ugly, you're too this, you're too that. Even if they don't say that directly, mm-hmm. You pick those things up. You really do over a course of time. I mean, you would be amazed how many auditions a person goes on before they actually get a job. It's a daunting, if they get a job. So, yes, I'm behind her and I support her, but not as a child. I have a 15-year-old as well who wants to go in the business, but not as an actor. She wants to be behind the scenes. And so we're working on that right now as well. The things that she needs to do to try to make that happen.
Now that must be quite a blessing, quite amazing that you know so many different aspects of the industry, that you're able to give them advice on, you know, on whatever they want to do, and that's remarkable. I have another question here. It's interesting how the flow went into how it touched on the rejection part, and you know you might be rejected for being too fat or too thin, or sometimes being too dark, and I want to touch on that documentary. You had a major part actually, America the Beautiful, with directed I think by Daryl Roberts, but I'll get to that just now.
Okay.
Shondell asked a question about Juilliard. I just want to finish the whole Juilliard thing before I move on. She says, looking back, can you tell us how your challenges at Juilliard have contributed to your success today?
Well, I think the one thing that Juilliard helped me continue to do, as I talked about with my mother, Juilliard it's a ball busting place. At least it was. I think a lot of these conservatories have softened their blow in the last 30 years when I went. But it really forced me and taught me, helped solidify in me the need to really break down the script and make decisions on it, decisions on what the script is about who your character is and what choices you're making in terms of your actions and your obstacles and your objectives, you know, and those main three things that I think you find, having taught acting for a long time, you find that many actors don't deal with, or don't deal with to the level that they should. They worry about a lot of other things first, and I think it does them a disservice. And I think once they get the core down, then, you know, I mean, listen, actors are different and they work differently, and different things affect you differently.
Right.
But if you don't understand, I think in general, this is a general terms, the core essence of character and of what it is, what your purpose is, what your job is as an actor, if you don't really understand how to break that down, it doesn't really matter what kind of natural gifts you have. It will eventually get in your way, especially if you're shooting film, which is it doesn't lead itself to just I'm going to do what I feel, I'm going to do what comes natural, because you have to shoot a scene over and over and over from different angles. You know, are you wide? Are you close up? Or, you know, all of these different things. You're shooting out of order, and if you don't have an intellectual understanding of what you're doing, along with your emotional life, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna run into walls that you're gonna have major problems with.
So training is definitely important.
Well, yeah, I don't think you have to go to Juilliard or anything like that, but I think you do have to. I think it's good for you to, and again, if your mind is open enough, you know, there's nothing like experience, because no matter going to Juilliard doesn't set you up for doing TV and film. But what it did set me up for was breaking things down, understanding doing my job. And then as I started doing TV and film, I have to learn anew how that process works. But my point is that I had such a strong foundation on doing my job as an actor, that the other technical things that were coming at me, that were new because I wasn't on stage. Now I'm in front of a camera, becomes easier to digest and to make sense of because I have a strong foundation.
You know, a question just came to mind, and I'm going to be a little bit indisciplined because I don't want to forget it. When you get a script, Mike, how how quickly do you have much time to actually study a script before you go for an audition? I mean, what is that process like?
Well, to audition, it depends. I mean, you can have a week,
Oh,
or it could be tomorrow. You know, I could get something. You know, it could be 12 hours,
wow.
And again, that's kind of my point. If I only have, you could have less than 12 hours. If I only have a short amount of time, and they want me to prepare 3 scenes, and they're wordy, and I'm not clear about what it is I want and what my objective is in each of these scenes, I'm going to go in against a lot of people, some of whom don't have a chance, but the other ones who really are on top of their game and they do know what they're doing. And so in order for me to compete with those people, I need to be able to break down my scenes as fast as I can and really have a point of view, a strong perspective on what it is that I'm trying to do. And I have to become specific about that, because that's what shows in your work. Not that I can be mad or that I can be happy or that I can be sad. That's silly stuff. What the true depth of I think a good actor, in my opinion, is how specific they're being, because that is the only way that, the more specific I am, the more the audience, the person watching, gets from me. So if I'm giving a general performance, even if someone is a terrific actor, if they're giving a general performance, you might like it, because they're such good actors. But the more specific they become, the more interested, the more magnetic they become to you. Because now you're starting to feel what they feel. You're starting to think what they think, or at least in the same realm. They don't, whatever an actor's going through, they don't have to tell you, but as long as it's connecting to the material that they're involved in, that's how you bring people in. So the more specific I'm being with myself and what I'm going through, the more the audience is going to get from me. And so if I go in an audition and let's say there are 3 or 4 other guys in there who are fantastic, I can't be general because I'm not gonna get the job against those guys.
Okay. And going back to the chat room, John says, "What's your perspective on influence of Hollywood in the political discourse?"
In terms of what? I don't know what that means.
John, could you be more specific? Let's move on. Kali, what's it like to have your daughter in acting class with you? What have you learned from her?
Well, I always learn from people I'm teaching, because one of my goals, my aims in teaching is to become a better communicator with other actors, because then it will help me become a better actor. So I'm always trying to learn, and really she's one of my students. There's no favoritism or anything like that. I get in her ass as much as I get into anybody else's. But for me, it's really about what I always tell them as well, especially when you go on an audition. And so let's say somebody asks you a question. If you audition, they like what you did, but they want to see something else, or they ask you a question. You have such a minute amount of time to let to let those people, the producers, the director, whomever is there, you have a small window to let them know that you are what they're looking for, and that you can take notes, you can take direction, and you can give them what they are looking for, what they wanted, even if they wanted a little tweak. So you have to be able to communicate what your thoughts are about the character, about the scene that you're doing, and I think people really appreciate that. And so one of the things that I learn from my students, which is a selfish thing, which I think is fine. Selfishness is not the devil that people make it out to be, is that I find that I have to become a better translator of the things that I say, the things that I mean, the things that I'm trying to convey. One student may understand what I'm saying with the words and the way in which I'm telling them, but another student may not. And so I have to find a way to say the same or very similar things in a different way so that someone else can hopefully understand what it is that I'm trying to communicate. And it can be very challenging, but I think it's necessary because we all hear things different ways. The same words have general meanings, but they don't have that deep, intimate, personal meaning to everyone. So it's a challenge, and I learn from all of my students how to better communicate.
Mike, as you're saying that, and I'm thinking, wow, what a character to find it necessary to teach or find different ways of teaching different people. That is not normal in most classrooms. It's like, this is the way it's being taught, and you either get it or you don't get it. I'm going to grade you at the end of the semester, so on. And here you are, trying to learn different ways of you call it translating what it is you want to convey. And I find that's very commendable. That's amazing to me. But
well, I mean, that is what we do as actors. It's about communication, and it's about, trying to get as many people to understand what I'm going through, what I mean, what this character is experiencing. And everybody's not going to get it, and everybody's not going to agree, but truly, I want as many people to get what I'm doing or to appreciate what I'm doing, and, frankly, to like what I'm doing as possible. And so without pandering, it is my job to find a way to connect best with myself so that other people can connect with what I'm going through. Yeah, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Mike, I have one more question before I run back to the chat room. And to my audience, I ask for your tolerance and your indulgence here. I know the show is CWS, but I just don't want to forget it. While we're talking about acting and translating and communicating, Mike, what is the most frustrating part? Well, let me rephrase that, because you've had so many parts. I don't know if this is even fair to you, but I'm going to ask it anyway and let you answer it how you want to. One of the most frustrating parts you've ever had, you've thrown everything into it, all of your experience and so on, but you're just not getting it right. Have you ever had something like a situation like that?
Oh, sure. I mean, I've been in some things that I thought I had, terrible performances. And the thing that bothers me the most that I do, I can't really talk about a specific thing because it doesn't come to mind, but the thing that I always try to steer my students away from, because I've been there and occasionally go back there, it's very difficult, but it's a term we call, playing the victim. Where the character is always as actors, we always have to have something that we want, something that we're going for, something that we're trying to attain, whether we know it or not. You know, it's funny because there's a lot of things that the actor has to know that maybe the character doesn't know, and hopefully in a good piece they come to know or come to understand. But obviously, because I've read the whole screenplay and I know where it's going, I know that that exists. And then I have to pull back on some of those things because my character doesn't know that yet. But he's on a journey, and he always has to be trying to get something. He always wants something. And I think you have to actively be pursuing that in order to have a character that is not just wallowing in self-pity. And even someone that is somebody that is unsure about what they want in life right now, there's still the little things that they're going after, they're fighting after. And I sometimes play the victim, or have in the past, where I'm not actively pursuing something. And usually when you're playing the victim, you're playing emotion. You know, how sad you are, how, you know, and you really, in my opinion, is you really can't play emotion. It's so uninteresting to watch. And to me, it's really bad acting. You know, it's like if you know, you're like, oh, this guy is mad here, and so you just think I'm going to play mad, and it goes, well, what's going on with him? What is he upset about? We have to figure out what he's upset about and why he's upset and what he's trying, because obviously he wants something that he wasn't able to get in some way. I mean, I'm generalizing right now, but so you know, it's one of those things where somebody gets bad news and they act sadly, and they think, oh, if I want to, you know, this is what the person's feeling, I'm just going to act sad. And it's like, no, you still, you know, that's pretty much means your obstacle, you know, your need is what you want, and your obstacle those are the things that are getting in the way of you getting what you want. And in those moments where you're losing, where you're not winning, you're not getting what you want, it's because that at that time your obstacle is winning, is beating your need, your want. And that's fine, but you still have to fight against that obstacle. When there's no fight, when there's no conflict between these two things, that's when you get into playing emotion, you know, and you wallow into whatever it is. And that's something that I hate, that when I see it in myself, and I've done it. I do it less and less, thank God, but I have definitely been a victim of of that very thing.
So we're not gonna ask you which movies those were, but
No.
Mickey asks, have you directed, produced any of the work in which you have acted?
Say that again.
Mickey, have you directed or produced any of the work in which you have acted?
Well, I've produced a couple of things coming out, but I never. But mainly, what I've directed has been on stage, which I really haven't directed in years. I basically coach now, and teach from time, you know. But it gets hard to teach because of work.
Okay.
You know, the commitment becomes really sometimes undoable. But I still do teach, I still do. I'm still trying to find ways to get projects that I have or that people that I know have. I'm trying to find ways to get those done, but it's very difficult, especially today with the economy, finding money to do things. But again, another reason why a lot of people shoot their own stuff. They find, you know, 10, 20, $30,000 and they shoot something. And I'm all for that as long as the material is solid from the beginning. I'll work for, you know, for peanuts, basically, if I really think a project is terrific.
I like that. I like that. And Barbara says, "Oh, I'm late. I am late. Good evening. Always glad to be a part of your amazing show, Selvin." Thanks, Barbara. Lynn, what do you do to get into character? How long does it take you to develop? How long does it take you to develop, and how long does it take you to develop, um, and how will you play the character? Let me try this another way. What do you do to get into character? And how long does it take you to develop that character? Let's.
It varies from character to character, but basically, many actors consider the script to be the end all and be all, and everything that I need is in that script. And of course, if they say, you know, this guy is a bus driver or whatever, and I don't know anything about what being a bus driver is, if he gets into detail about that, and sometimes, you know, you'll go visit the bus depot or the station, and you try to interview some bus drivers, or you observe or whatever. I don't do that too much. I mean, there are actors who that are mainly considered character actors who really do a great deal of that. You know, people like Daniel Day-Lewis, who literally lives his character, which is remarkable, and it's also, it's commendable. I don't go that deep into stuff. I spend a lot of time in my head, in my mind, using my intellect, what little of it I have, and really, for the most part, and don't get me wrong what I'm about to say, but for the most part, I don't care what my character's profession is. It's what my character is going through as a human being. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, what they do as a profession has meaning to what they're going through as a character, as a human being. So I do have to deal with that, but that doesn't come first. I mean, I have to put myself in the situation. Obviously, how did the person grow up and all that stuff, that has relevance, but it's really about the moments, all these little moments that somebody's going through, and are they a good person deep down, or are they a very selfish and very self-centered? Those types of things that don't often have to do with what you do for work. I mean, sometimes it does, but that comes after for me. But there are a lot of quality actors and a lot of actors who are far better than I am, that really spend a lot of time with if I'm a bus driver, I want to go drive a bus, and I want to go, even though I may never drive a bus in the actual film, I want to go drive a bus, and I want to know what it's like, and I want to immerse myself in that world. And again, just like I said, I have nothing wrong with that, because again, the more specific I am, the more the audience gets. But it's just, most of my life consists of my home life and not my acting life, so, I like to fill most of my time with my wife and my kids, and, my family and friends. And so I don't get that deep into, and to be honest with you, I would say that 95% or more of actors don't do that.
Okay. Mike, I want to shift a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about your documentary, because it is so important. We have a black president today, and
right.
yet in the political theater, there's so much discourse about ethnicity, about racism, and all these kinds of stuff, and the color of someone's skin. Um, but the film, the documentary America the Beautiful, directed by Daryl Roberts, what was that about? Did he approach you with a project? How did that come about?
Well, that was something we did. You know what? I think it was 7 years ago, maybe. Daryl Roberts is an old friend of mine. I did a film in Chicago with Robert Duvall and James Earl Jones called A Family Thing. Mm-hmm. And he was a local TV person in Chicago, I believe. And so he was interviewing me for something there, and we talked and we kind of kept in touch. And that was a long time ago. And we just kept in touch over the years. So he came to me and he said, listen, I have this idea about how the overall beauty business in America affects our children.
Right.
And mainly young black girls. Because how according to commercials and everything, white is beautiful, blue eyes, blonde hair, thin frames, things that black girls in general are not.
Right.
And he had done a lot of interviews, but he didn't formulate. When you do a documentary, you have an idea. Mm-hmm. In general, I mean, I'm sure there are people that do it differently, but for the most part, you have an idea, and you go out and you interview and you have footage and just hours and hours of footage, and then you get into the editing room and you start editing. That's really where you form your movie. Unlike a scripted film where you have a 100-page script and you have a great idea of what it is your piece is going to be about. Of course, it alters and changes in the editing room as well. But with a documentary, you really are formulating, you really are building, you're molding, you're creating your film in the editing room. And so he came to me and he said, I have this idea, but I've run out of money and I need some money, and I know you, I have 3 daughters. And he said, I know this is something that you care about. And listen, I'm not an advocate for anything. I don't go out there and, rah, rah, rah. But I looked at some of his footage and I thought, wow, this is really a great piece. And I helped. I said, listen, okay, I'll put some money into this, mm-hmm. but I think this is the direction you should go in, and it should we helped come up with. We ended up following one black girl who was a model at the time. I think she was 12. And she was beautiful, tall model, and things were great for her. Everybody wanted her, and it was all great. And then as she got a little older, things started to fall apart for her, and it was because I think she wasn't fitting into this mold. Mm-hmm. And so, for about a year and a half, I worked with him and a couple other people too. He had other investors, and I went up and stayed with him in Chicago, and then he was somewhere up in Northern California, and I went and stayed with him for a few weeks, and we really just, were hammering out ideas in the editing room and this and that, and we ended up coming up with America the Beautiful, which for him actually. He's toured around with it, and I think he did America the Beautiful too, which I have nothing to do with it. He didn't need my money anymore. He made a great deal of money from America the Beautiful, and but he touched a lot of people's lives with that whole idea of the image of little of black girls in this country and how it can negatively affect their self-image and how they grow and how they come to look at themselves based on what America is telling them is beautiful and appropriate, and that's what America the Beautiful was about.
Thanks, Mike. I'm just gonna take a short break, very short, because time is running out on us, right?
Okay.
You remember I told you how the 1.5 hour is gonna just fly out like that?
Right.
So okay, hold a second. I'm Selwyn Collins on CWS. My guest tonight is actor-director Michael Beach. Mike?
Selwyn.
Yes, sir.
I'm just finding out right now, because I know a few people, that the job that my daughter went to audition for, she got.
Congratulations, man.
I am so happy for people are just texting me right now.
Congratulations. Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm very excited for her. I don't know if she knows yet, so I'm going to let her find out through the normal process, but that is awesome.
Awesome.
Wow. You've seen it right here, folks. I'm very excited for my daughter.
I like the expression of the excited dad, man.
She works hard, so.
That's good. I guess there's a chip off the old block. Takes a lot off of you, right?
Well, I got to tell you, man, my motto, what I live by and is that, hard work wins. I just can't I'm not attracted to people that do not hustle in their lives. And it doesn't mean in everything. Look, I procrastinate about certain things, but the thing that I profess to love and that I profess to be, that so connected to, it would be a shame if I don't if I don't hustle as much as I can to get and to do what I want to do as possible. And then it gives me, I have no right to complain about anything if I'm not out there, busting my ass. Gotcha. And I have no right to complain either way, but particularly if I'm not out there fighting for the very thing that I say I want.
I hear that, man. You're talking about fighting. I want to give, excuse me, I want to be in integrity with John. John came back. He explained his question. He says, regarding my previous question, many Hollywood actors were actively involved in the 2012 presidential campaigns. Are you inspired to run for political office one day?
No.
Okay. Mike,
no, not at all.
Mike,
no. I think in politics, I don't think you can really be yourself in politics. I don't really think you can say what you really believe and think and want in politics. And I don't think any politician, and of course, this is my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but I think it's a game that you have to play, and it's got to be. I have no desire to be involved in politics at all.
All right. I move on to the next question. DSACB says, "Oh my, waiting to exhale on now." And then they ask, "Do you receive a residual?"
Yes.
Oh, you do. Okay.
I bet. Yeah, it's funny. It's weird. It's one of the things that look. Anytime you see something that a film or a TV show that plays over in Europe, or plays on HBO, or plays wherever, the producers of that show and the network, they're making money because whoever's playing. Somebody bought that to have it play on whatever it happens to be playing on. And so the producers, they're the ones that really, get the large amount of money. But so every actor in it as well, depending on whatever your contract was, but every actor in it continually gets money. So I did Waiting to Exhale, I don't know, 20 years ago, and I've been receiving, checks for it. And don't get me wrong, the checks now, they're small, but some of them are still, they still have a little bit of relevance. You can do things with them. But yeah, so I do everything that I've done that is replayed. I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's encouraging. TJ says, please share your thoughts on these icons: Sidney Poitier, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, Denzel Washington.
Share my thoughts about them in what way? Let me say this. Thank God they're here. I mean, all fantastic. I see them as hustlers. I see them as go-getters.
Gotcha.
So whether not speaking about their talents or their gifts, which I think they all have. You said Sidney, Denzel,
Will and Morgan.
Who?
Will Smith and Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, right. It's just, I know people complain about racism and how tough it is in this business for minorities, and as someone who's been doing it for 30 years, we have come a very long way, and I just, does racism exist? Of course it exists, but so does, is it a huge factor? I just don't think so. Not, it's just, prejudices exist everywhere. And all, you know, I mean, let's be real, we're prejudiced against overweight people.
Right.
You know, people like taller people more than they like shorter people. You know, people they find attractive against people they don't find attractive. I think that we as black people do very well in the entertainment business. And you know, obviously I don't do nearly as well as Will and all the people that you mentioned. They make far more than I do. They have much more choice than I have. But they are literally, the people you mentioned are the elite of the elite. And to be able to be there is spectacular, and I have no animosity or jealousy. I love it. I love it. I want more people to get there, people younger than me coming up, and I'm just glad that I can participate and that I can make a living at what I love to do.
Right, right. Before I ask another question from the chat room, I wanna talk a little bit about you have three movies this year, right?
Three what?
Three movies. Sparkle.
Sparkle, Red Dawn is coming out for Thanksgiving, and then next year, actually in January, Broken City with Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, Broken City is next year.
Broken City is January, early January.
And Son of Anarchy, you told me last night. That was on
Sons
FX.
of Anarchy. It came up. I do a recurring on that, and BET's The Game. I play the owner of the football team, and those two shows I show up sporadically here and there.
Okay.
And now I'm starting on a show called The Client List, which is Jennifer Love Hewitt. It's Lifetime, about Madam, and actually I'm going to be working with Loretta Devine.
Wow.
Who is an old friend of mine. We did Exhale together, and we did a film called Rebound on HBO together. With that, had a lot of people. Forrest Whitaker, who directed Waiting to Exhale, and Don Cheadle, and again James Earl Jones, Eric LaSalle, just a lot of people. And then Loretta and I did a film called First Sunday, one of the few comedies that I've done with Ice Cube.
I remember that.
Man, Cat Williams and Tracy Morgan, which was a lot of fun. So now she and I are going to be working closely together on The Client List.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
Should be fun. I hope so.
Yeah. You at least you're busy, Mike.
Yeah, I can't complain. I'm sorry, I'm reading about my daughter.
Right, that's all right. Chat room, what would you draw, Kali, what would you draw on to portray an iconic figure like Lincoln, where his voice was never been heard, yet must sound credible and authentic?
Say that one more time.
What would you draw on to portray an iconic figure like Lincoln, where his voice has never been heard, yet must sound credible and authentic?
Man, I'm sorry, brother. I cannot understand.
All right, I'm going to try it.
One more time.
Right. What would you draw on to portray an iconic figure like Lincoln, where his voice has never been heard, yet must sound credible and authentic?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, we're talking about Daniel Day-Lewis. His voice has never been heard because they weren't recording voices until about 20 years after his death.
Right.
But his voice has been described many times over. And so it's not unknown to people what his voice has been described as. And I think that's what an actor like Daniel Day-Lewis does. I mean, he gathers that information and does his interpretation of detailed descriptions of what his voice was. So I don't really know what the question was, but I find that, an actor who does stuff like that just incredible, just remarkable.
Remarkable.
It's remarkable.
All right, moving on. Jen, Cool Sight Cell. Thank you, Jen. Mickey, congrats. That's to your daughter, Mike. Lily, you are indeed a good teacher. Congrats.
Thank you.
Kali says, excellent. Congratulations to your daughter, and happy for you too.
Thank you.
The SACB expression, priceless. I guess that's to your daughter too. QTP, congrats to you and your daughter. Chip of the old block. That's what great mentorship is. That is what great mentorship is, combined with commitment. AC says, congratulations to your daughter and also the proud dad. The SACB says, interesting that you should return tonight. I was watching the movie Soul Food during your first interview. They're talking, that's when you were. Wow, Mike. Timing is good between us, right?
Yeah.
All right. I have a question here that I want to ask you as a teacher, right? What do you like most about teaching, Mike?
I don't know. Sharing, man. I really like the idea of passing, of helping, of trying to help somebody. Really, I want my students to work.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to need me. I want them to learn from me as much as they can to get themselves work. That's what I want. There's no magic pill, none of that stuff. I'm not a guru. I can't, just heap talent on you and let you go off and, but it's a craft like anything, what we do. And so if you're going to build a house, anybody can have knowledge. You read a book, you read the instructions, and it says you do this with the foundation, and then you do this, and then you do that. But it's the person that's built many houses, and they made mistakes, and so now they know, yes, the book says this, but the truth is, if you do that, then this is what happens. It's best to do this, and I know because I've built 1,000 houses, and I want to help pass that knowledge on to you, and so that your house is solid and strong, and that you build one after the other, and they get better and better and better. And so we as actors, yes, you may have a beautiful raw talent, but how do you manipulate that? How do you harness it? How do you use it to the best of your ability? Look at Michael Jordan. And now we can argue if it's Kobe or LeBron, but basically in my era, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever.
That's right.
Now, people say, oh, well, he's just naturally gifted. He didn't do anything, And yeah, he is naturally gifted. But that dude was in the gym before everybody. He stayed in the gym after everybody left. He worked on his game, He's number one. He still worked on his game. He's getting older, so he can't drive as much as he used to. He doesn't want to take the punishment that he used to. So what does he do? He alters his game, and he develops a better jump shot, an 18-footer or whatever it is that, and so he's always saying, well, listen, how can I better myself? How can I take my natural gift and enhance it and make it better and make it more efficient?
Right.
And that's what teaching is for me, and that's what I think that's also why I think in general, it's not always true, but in general, you become better at what you do as you get older.
Right.
Because the experience that you get really starts to make sense, and it starts to come more naturally from you and through you, and that is funny, because that's what I feel like as being a father. I have a son who's about to be 26, and I have a son that just turned 2, and over the years, just because I've lived and I've accepted things, I've accepted my good qualities, and I've accepted my bad ones as well. I've accepted my positive things and the negative things I've done, the mistakes I've made, and and I'm easier with myself, and so that I find myself to be a much better father now than I was the first time through. And I hope that as I get older and grow out, and I'm also a better husband. I'm a much better husband. And I hope that that continues to be the case in everything I do.
I like that, Mike. Mike, you talk about your kids and you talk about teaching and teaching these children and learning from your students as well. Have you ever had a situation where, and I'm only asking this because you mentioned, you gave an analogy of the book saying doing this, but experience it, tried that, and this might happen. But using that as a premise, have you ever had a student that you explained to them, said, okay, this is how you should do it, and they said they resisted, but try something else, and the something else that they tried really taught you something? I mean, have you ever been like really?
Of course. You know, what we do is a series of trial and error. I'm not right all the time.
Right.
There's no way. Of course, absolutely. But the thing is, I never say that's not right, or that, I mean, because that's not right, to say that. My job is to help the other actor to find the easiest, quickest, most powerful choices for them to make to get them where they need to be. And I don't care where that comes from, if it comes from me, if it comes from other students, because one of the ways I teach is it's just not me pontificating and you shut up and listen. No, it's a collaborative thing. I'm always asking, because again, what I've said, communication is the key. And so I always want, even if my students are not acting on doing the scene at the time, the ones watching are still participating. Right. I still have to involve them. I want to know what they feel, what they think. And so we're always collaborating in that way. And so, yes, when somebody tells me, I want to try this or I want to try that, as long as it has to do with their needs and their obstacles and their actions, and as long as it's making sense, then yeah, let's do it. I'm all for it. That's what we're there for. We're not there for me to be right. We're there for them to learn, and for me to learn. And that's what we're there for. We're not there for my ego, even though my ego is important to me, like everybody else's. But my ego is actually stroked when a student advances, that something is clicked, in them, and they can now see something that they weren't seeing, and then they can apply it and use it and be better because of it.
Mona says in the chat room, she asks, well, I don't know if it's a she, but Mona asks, what keeps you so grounded? Do you have a daily routine to start your day?
What makes me so what?
Grounded.
Oh.
Right? And do you have a daily routine to start your day? Huh?
I appreciate the comment. I don't know. Like as I said before, most of my life, most of my daily activity is spent with my son, who's 2, and his mom, and I feel so happy and so fortunate that I have them in my life, and I don't, I'm not a guy I don't go to Hollywood parties, and I don't go to openings of films and TV, and that's fine. I'm not saying that people that do, whatever. It's just that I don't really care about that part of, of what I do. I just want to act. and make enough money to support my family. I support a lot of people, obviously, and I just I don't know. You know what? It's funny because I love being on set.
You do.
Yeah. What?
I said you do.
Yeah, I just love it. It's so, I feel so fortunate to be on set, to be working. And don't get me wrong, it's, in a sense, it's really easy, but it is so hard to get a job in this business. Getting the job, fighting to get the job, studying and studying and studying and studying and going in there and constantly being rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected. That's the real work. That's the hustle. That's that's what you have to go through. Mm-hmm. So when you finally get a job and you are on the set, it's like, wow, I mean, I have zero, and I mean it, zero to complain about. So I just love it. And of course I'm at the point where I'm not always auditioning. I mean, most of the things I get are offers now, but I still am out there auditioning all the time. Uh-huh. And I actually love that. I mean, don't get me wrong too. I would love for Steven Spielberg to tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, here's this role. But I feel fortunate that I can do what I do and pay my bills and hopefully will continue. As you get older,
right,
you become a little less relevant because it is a young person's business. But thank God, young people need uncles and older brothers and now in my case, fathers and and stuff like that. But I just love it and I don't think I deserve it or anything. It was going back to your idea of grounded. Right. I work for it, so I deserve what I work for, but I don't deserve it because I'm some, idiot Hollywood actor. I deserve it because I work hard to get it. But in that, I really do appreciate when a job does come along.
I like that. Mickey says, over the years, have you rejected roles due to moral or spiritual beliefs?
No, I've rejected roles because, various reasons, but because I didn't like them, I didn't like the piece, I didn't like what the piece was saying, or because they didn't offer me enough, whether it be money or billing, in terms of where your name goes on the credit.
Okay.
Or, the timing was bad. I just got offered a couple of plays, and which I would love to do, but they want more time, and it takes me out of pilot season where a lot of people are looking for work.
Okay.
And there's a lot of work available. And some movies I'm like, what, I don't want to be a part of that, but it's not necessarily morally, because I want to play. Oh man, I want to play all types of characters. I want to play good, bad, horrible. As long as the piece says something, I don't mind being the bad guy. Obviously, I'm sure I've done that before. But I don't mind it as long as the whole piece actually, and it doesn't have to be positive. It just has to be intricate. It just has to be multi-layered, multifaceted, not just, I don't like black and white. I don't like simplicity. I don't like, stereotypical stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not my thing.
Is there a role that comes to mind readily that you haven't played or you would like to play?
No, not really. I mean, it's so funny because one of the great things about what we do is I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay. There's somebody out there right now that has a project, and whether or not I get the phone call tomorrow, it could, whenever it's going to be a month or 2 months or a week or whatever. But that a project's going to come up that I wasn't thinking about, I have no idea about, and it's going to come along, and it's going to be fantastic that, there are people out there creating these characters and these stories, and eventually one of them will get to me, and I just love that. I love that. So yeah, I just want to keep going. I just want to remain viable, to the people out there, to the producers and the directors and the audience, and I hope that I never get to the place where I can't work, when nobody's interested in using me.
Right. Mike, with that kind of disposition and attitude, I'm sure it's going to take a very, very long time for that to happen, if it ever does happen.
I hope you're right.
So somebody asked a question that I was dying to ask. I know you're a rider, a biker, and
yeah, I like to think of myself as one, but it's very difficult. I've written a few things, but they're really hard to get produced.
Oh, so somebody asked here. TJ says, when was the last time you rode your motorbike?
2 days ago.
2 days.
I'm an avid rider. I've been riding for 30 years now, off and on. But I'm a biker. There's no two ways about it. And I'm not a Hollywood biker. I'm a biker. I ride across the country. I go to some big rallies. I ride with a bunch of people, and I ride by myself. And I'm a biker.
I guess the freedom that comes from riding, man. I guess that's.
Yeah, it's just badass, man. It's just an incredible feeling. I love it.
I hear that, Mike. JC says, what fun activities do you enjoy doing with your wife and children?
My wife and kids, we like going to the park, and we bring our dog, and we like running around with the dog, and we love, believe it or not, we love going to Target. It's our favorite store.
Target, Mike?
Target, Target, baby. We love it. He runs around, and we pick up things here and there. We love that. But we basically, we live in LA, and we go to Burbank on the weekend sometimes, and we just walk around and, pick up, snacks here, a little ice cream here, or whatever. And we just walk around and go into stores and shops and let him run around and interact with people, and we just hang. We can do, the great thing about my wife and I is that we can do anything together. We can hang out with my friends, and hang out by ourselves. We can go to the movies. We go to the movies a lot less now because we have a 2-year-old. But the thing we do most is we sit at home. Like I said, I'm not, on the weekends, we don't go out to parties or clubs. We just sit home, and, we talk and we read to him, and, sometimes we'll watch some internet. We don't have cable. We don't have TV. So we do have internet. So we watch Netflix or Hulu Plus. We just hang, man.
Was there a reason for not having TV, Mike? 'Cause I know you could afford it.
Yeah, huh?
Because I know you can afford it.
No, it's too expensive, man. No, it just becomes, it's dangerous, I think, just watch too much. I mean, even with the Netflix and Hulu Plus, I think it's on too much, and it's not on that much. But it's just dangerous, I think, just sit in front of the TV and.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that if you're with someone and the person is off watching television and you're off watching it kind of robs you of that those moments, precious moments you
Yeah,
can spend
yeah.
with.
We eat dinner together pretty much every night. When it's bedtime, we go to bed together, all the time. And you get robbed, especially at dinner time. You go and and my wife cooks meals at home, but if you get meals cooked at home, you grab them and you go and you sit in front of the TV, and then you just eat in front of the TV, and you never talk, you never discuss things, you never, you know, and so we turn it off. It's gone. It's off. We sit on the table and we talk about, I don't know, anything and everything, and it's amazing how. And don't get me wrong, I'm on my second marriage. My first marriage was my first 4 kids with my first marriage. We did a lot of that, to where we would fight. I would fight that, not we would fight together, but we would fight to sit down and have dinner at the table. And slowly but surely, the TV would creep in, and we would no longer be having dinner at the table. We'd be watching TV, eating dinner. And I was as much a culprit as anybody else. Trust me, I don't have any super non-TV powers. I mean, it draws me like everybody else. But, knowing that it can be so consuming, and that we have this 2-year-old that we want to really develop in so many other ways. We're not gonna deprive him of TV,
Right.
but we want him to read more than most kids. We want him to eat better than most kids, and we want him to be able to have a conversation and a discussion with people about his thoughts and feelings and his wants and needs, as much as possible. Obviously, he's a kid; he's going to be jumping around and this and that. But that I'm thinking about, as he grows and as he becomes an adult and as he makes his way into the world, I want him to have these skills, and I want them to come naturally to him. And it's part of my job as a father is to help give him that foundation.
Mike, well, before I say this, let me just read these last two in the chat room. DSACB says, songs like you also wouldn't entertain performing in Dancing with the Stars. Your thoughts? Hold on, Mike. Hold on a second.
It would change the name of the show to Falling with the Stars.
Falling with the Stars.
No. I'm not... if you ever see me on reality TV, something is wrong. Look, I have nothing against it. It's just not for me. It's not my wheelhouse. I have no desire to become famous or to stay famous or to, I'm an actor. I want to be an actor. Obviously, fame helps get you work, and that's what a lot of people fight for.
Right.
And so I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm not saying, well, look, I don't want to be famous, or I don't want, but that is not my goal. My goal is to work as an actor and hopefully to be paid, to be compensated as best I can, and that obviously that comes with fame.
Yes, yeah.
So I understand that, but I think when you start doing reality shows, if you're somebody that has a career or had a career or whatever, for me, the way I see it, you're and I could be, I know a few people that have done them, and they're incredible people. I'm not disparaging anyone, but the reason I do what I do has nothing to do with me being on reality TV. Let's say if God forbid, film and TV has no room for me anymore. I'm not wanted. I'm not needed. Then I go to the theater. Of course, I make a lot less money, but I have a good pension coming up, and I have, some money put away, and all that stuff. And I'll just if I have to, I downgrade my living, which is small anyway. I don't live in a super huge house, and I don't have 6 or 7 cars. Matter of fact, I do have about 4 cars, but that's because I paid for cars for other people. but none of them are, $100,000 cars. They're regular, everyday cars. That doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, the only thing I do spend money on from time to time are motorcycles. But I just want to live in a comfortable home, which I have, and continue to work. I have no desire to fight to become more famous, or whatever.
As the woman
that is what reality TV is. It seems a little, like you're reaching, like you're fighting, like you're trying to claw your way back somewhere, or whatever. I don't know.
As the woman said, the person said, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, said before, grounded, and yes, you are, Mike. So Mickey says you are on my elite list. So
on my what list?
Her elite list.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And DSACB, to her earlier question about you dancing with the stars, she said, thank heavens, I'm happy you wouldn't. And Barbara says, your family values are amazing. Way to go.
And, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And then Barbara says again, so grounded, how inspiring. Mike, you remember the other day we were talking, and you were wondering about the time, and I said, an hour and a half runs out very fast. People
right.
And that is what has happened here tonight. We are like 7 minutes over time. But it's okay, because I'm enjoying it. I'm sure the audience is too, by what the comments in the chat room and so on. I asked.
I have to go hug and kiss my daughter now.
Yes, I know. So I'm gonna close off the show.
Much as I love talking to you, Selwyn, I'm ready to go grab my daughter and give her a big hug.
She's much more important than I am, Mike, and I understand it. And here, thanks a lot. So much. I mean, it was short notice. You were able to come on. I know I owe you. Thank you very much, buddy. Thank you. All right, man. Good night. And
good night.
Give your daughter my regards.
All right, I will.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, talk to you later, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Suffer the little children to come unto me. Every day, more than 30,000 children around the world die of preventable diseases. More than 300,000 children are being used in war as child soldiers. Lord have mercy. A child should be loved. A child should be held. A child should be clean. A child shouldn't smell. A child shouldn't go to bed hungry at night. A child should be taught wrong from right. A child should learn to say thanks and please. A child shouldn't suffer from preventable disease. A child is a fruit that shouldn't be picked before